You know, in the entire world of finance, there's one name that just stands for something different, something more patient, more logical. Warren Buffett. He's one of the wealthiest people on the entire planet, yet he still lives in the same house he bought back in 1958 and grabs breakfast from a McDonald's drive-thru. It's this massive, fascinating contradiction. So let's get into it.
So yeah, how does that happen? How does a kid from Omaha, Nebraska, born smack in the middle of the Great Depression, become the oracle? That's really the question we're going to unpack here. Because this isn't just a story about getting rich, it's a story about a whole different way of thinking.
And to really get your head around the scale of this, you just have to see it. I mean, on one side, you've got this failing textile mill from the 1960s, basically a fossil from a dying industry. And on the other, you have Berkshire Hathaway today, a financial fortress with a market value that's closing in on $1 trillion. The jump from that old factory to this modern empire, it's just one of the most incredible stories in the history of business.
Okay, let's start with the man himself, because this is where the central paradox of Warren Buffett really lives. He is the ultimate billionaire next door, and if you can understand this, you can understand everything else.
The gap here is it's staggering. On one side, you've got a net worth that is honestly hard to even comprehend. But on the other side, you have a man who still lives in the same house in Omaha he bought for about $31,500 way back in 1958. His daily McDonald's breakfast, well, it famously changes based on how the market's doing, but it never costs him more than a few dollars.
And you have to get this. This is not an act. It's not for show. It's who he is. This is a man who gathered an unbelievable amount of resources and then just chose to completely ignore the lifestyle that's supposed to come with it. That single choice is the foundation for everything that follows.
To really understand the investor, you got to go back and understand the kid. His journey from Omaha to Wall Street, it was no accident. It was the direct result of a mindset that was shaped during the Great Depression.
Oh yeah, he wasn't just, saving his allowance. This kid was a natural-born entrepreneur. He was running multiple newspaper routes, he was collecting and reselling used golf balls, he even built a little pinball machine empire that he put in local barbershops. Get this, by the time he was out of high school, he had already saved up enough money to buy a 40-acre farm. All he wanted was to be financially independent.
But the real light bulb moment wasn't just the hustle, it was intellectual. When he went to Columbia Business School, he studied under his hero, Benjamin Graham, who taught this powerful idea called value investing. And the core of it is this concept, the margin of safety. Simply put, it means you do the hard work to figure out what a business is actually worth, its intrinsic value, and then you only buy it when the market is selling it at a huge discount. It's rational, it's unemotional, and for Buffett's logical brain, it just clicked. So, armed with this powerful new philosophy, Buffett starts his own investment partnerships, and he's seeing incredible success. But his most famous creation, the one we all know, Berkshire Hathaway, well, that actually started out as what he later called his dumbest investment ever. This move, right here, shows his genius for turning a total lemon into lemonade. He bought control of this dying textile mill, Berkshire Hathaway, partly because he was just annoyed with the management. So now he's stuck with this terrible business, but he finds its one hidden gem, an insurance company it owned. And that's when he discovered the float. The float is basically all the insurance premiums customers pay before any claims are paid out. He realized it was like getting a giant interest-free loan that he could then invest. So he used that cash to buy better and better businesses and turn that failing old mill into the legendary investment machine it is today.
So how did he communicate this grand vision to everybody? Well, he did it through his now legendary annual letters to shareholders. And these weren't full of corporate jargon. They were lessons in business and life, written with this incredible clarity and humor. They became his main teaching tool, and pretty soon they were the must-read manual for any serious investor on the planet.
But Buffett's strategy wasn't set in stone. It was always evolving. And the single most important evolution came from one man, his brilliant partner, Charlie Munger. It was Munger's influence that really got the investment snowball rolling downhill, picking up speed. This change in thinking was everything. See, Munger pushed Buffett to move beyond his mentor's cigar butt approach. That's what they called finding a terrible company that had one last free puff of value left in it. Munger's wisdom was simple but profound. Forget buying a fair company at a wonderful price. Instead, buy a wonderful company at a fair price. That meant focusing on truly great businesses with what they called economic moats, durable, long-term competitive advantages. Think of brands like Coca-Cola or Apple. This shift, it was a complete game changer.
And this whole idea is summed up perfectly in Buffett's most famous analogy. The wet snow he talks about, that's these high-quality, wonderful companies. And the really long hill, well, that's just time. He wasn't trying to get rich quick. He was playing the long game, letting the eighth wonder of the world, compound interest, do all the heavy lifting for him.
And the result of that philosophy? It's just mind-blowing. The growth is not a straight line, it's exponential. Just look at this. The vast majority of his wealth was earned after he turned 50. It is the ultimate proof of the power of patience and what can happen when compounding gets a very long hill to roll down.
But Buffett's story and his legacy are about so much more than just a number on a spreadsheet. In his later years, he's become just as much a philosopher of wealth as he is a master of accumulating it.
This is how he actually thinks about his fortune. He doesn't see it as money for yachts and mansions. He sees it as a pile of claim checks on society's resources. And he's decided that he has basically no personal interest in cashing them in for himself. Instead, he has a totally different purpose in mind for them.
So, what is that purpose? This number pretty much says it all. He is pledged to give away more than 99% of his entire fortune, most of it through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. He even co-founded the Giving Pledge to urge other billionaires to do the exact same thing.
So when you boil it all down, the lessons from Buffett's story go way beyond the stock market. At the foundation is simple rationality. Think for the long term, don't just guess. Then comes patience. Understand that real value needs time to grow. Then emotional control. You have to be rational when everyone else is being fearful or greedy. And right at the top, the most important thing is integrity. Because as Buffett himself says, a good reputation is your most valuable asset by far.
And all of this leaves us with one final thought. Buffett found his wet snow in those wonderful businesses and his really long hill in a lifetime of patient compounding. So it makes you think, in your own life, in your career, in your passions, what's your wet snow and what is your really long